The issue with recording it for me is that I don't have a good way to, it takes up too much space on my laptop. So George was able to save it. And I can't remember how I shared it with her to save it, but I'm sure she can remind me.
Google Drive.
Do we make a Google Drive? Yes, because I
Yeah,
think
if
I
you put it in the
found it.
Google Drive, I can
Google Drive.
make it a link and then send it back.
Okay. So we'll do that.
I can, if no one else wishes to, I can help with timekeeping.
Okay, thank you. All right. So no volunteers for notes. We'll just use the recording. Okay, I'll try to make a note on action items. I did leave that a space for that at the end. Okay. What about the agenda review? I've kept it to let's see, 4 or 5 things. The brochure at top, because I think that'll be quick. Just a discussion about the naming of our subcommittee. Volunteer to write a blurb for the website. Potential subcommittee goals and a way to talk about Sulfred's work and how to publicize it. So that's what we might chat. So maybe rounding about 10 minutes each, knowing some of those won't take a full 10 minutes. That's kind of what I'll say. Because we're already into it. So any additions to the agenda? Okay. So the proposal for the bilingual brochure, I know I myself am getting excited about it. I know you have people that can edit and double check.
Tina,
Teresa? Yeah.
just to save time, because I am in charge of that. It was my proposal, and Adrian Bernal and Lenny Villagomez Rees have agreed to do the translation. And Adrian did not have the actual Join Wilf Today brochure, because that is what's being translated. And part of what we discussed is how we could add something to the narrative on the brochure that really focuses in on our support for immigration justice. So that's new wording that will be added. But I did mail Adrian a couple of weeks ago the actual brochure. So I'm sure he's gotten started with, he'll be the main person doing the translation. And then Lenny and he both come from Mexican backgrounds. So they will be able to deal with the nuances of Spanish translation so that it more fits with people who are coming from the southern border up through Mexico. So I feel confident that we should have a draft within a month or so, because we really do want to get started using it. If not by the Poor People's Campaign, but certainly shortly after. So I'll stay on top of Adrian. He's really quite busy, but I will stay on top of Adrian. I was hoping he could hop on today, but apparently not.
Thank you. There's someone that helped us in our trip down to Brownsville. She's not a super active Wilf member. It's hard to rope her in, but I could certainly ask for her expertise.
I would appreciate it, Tina, if you could not, because having too many people working on this would be too much.
Well, I wasn't going to ask. I was just going to say, if somebody fell through, if somebody wasn't able to finish their commitment, that's all.
No.
I'm sure they will. I'm just
Lenny and Adrian are not gonna fall through.
Okay.
Could we
Yeah.
move the agenda if there are no questions?
Sounds good. So we had some discussion last time about our naming of our subcommittee. And it seems like we're just really continue to have organic discussions about how we call ourselves and the importance of naming, that words have meaning. And in light of that, I read something recently about how the Friends Committee on National Legislation has changed their committee name from immigration to migration. And I thought I would bring that to this discussion because their reasoning was that it emphasized the human experience, including before and the process of migrating, rather than the institutional system of immigration, which resonated for me. And I also, especially after reading or hearing what Melissa had to say last time about the militarization of the border, was wondering how we could kind of hold on to that kernel within our subcommittee.
Tina,
Yeah.
exactly what is the proposal for the name change from Immigration Justice Subcommittee to what?
So the immigration justice was still working. That was you used that consistently, but we had never actually voted on it. So it's just another perhaps migration policy, migration. I don't have a particular, I'm just throwing it out.
Tina,
Yes, Diane.
Melissa wrote that, when she wrote her email saying she was missing today's meeting,
Mhm.
she said she often has used IM/migration. And I liked that. I think that's, but that's.
I read it to say that she uses migration and then, okay, that I'll look at that IM again. I thought that meant something else, but okay. That seems a little hard, clumsy when we're speaking but maybe I'm not knowing how it flows.
I think you would just say immigration, but when you print it, would it be IM/migration?
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
I don't know. I haven't heard that before too much, but Teresa
Okay.
has, yeah.
Right, maybe it's analogous to intersectionality with sectionality, and the word refers to sections of what means international cooperation and what as well as intersectional feminism.
Okay.
Well, Tina, are you facilitating? I've had my hand up and Margot just kind of jumped in. So
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Are we just kind of jumping in?
Go ahead, jump in, Teresa.
Well, the way I understood what Melissa wrote is that this was a novel way of her talking about migration in her trainings and her talks. But when we're talking about the name of this subcommittee, I think we should be clear about exactly what we're calling it. And there was a name that was used for the previous work that Melissa did. And as I read her note, I was like, oh, why didn't she say that old name? Because the word migration talks about the movement of people across borders. And I think that word in and of itself is strong. And even if we said migration, a migration and that whole issue of militarized borders, I think that combination was clear. And I can't remember what it was being called before. I just used immigration justice because that's how we started out. But I think migration and ending border militarization. You know, like we have ending mass incarceration and the death penalty is a very clear title.
Yeah,
And I think having a clear title for this subcommittee on the issue of migration and border militarization is kind of something that we support migration and an end to borders, and we want to end border militarization. So I don't know, but that's something that captures what the committee is about, supporting the movement of migrants across borders and opposing the militarization of borders. So a name that captures that. I don't think we have to decide it in this moment, but this process of moving towards a more proper name, I think it does mean avoiding the master's words of immigration as a negative, because it does bring up a kind of negative connotation. Immigration is like a big fight, but we're saying people have the right to migrate, and
Mhm.
particularly to migrate for asylum when they're running for their lives. And so that's what's really going on from the southern border. If you're coming from Canada, you get in with no problem. So that's what we're looking at. The
Agreed.
dispatch of it over.
Yeah, Margot Stack, and then I'll be next. Go ahead, Margot.
Thank you. What occurred to me is that we could call it M/migration and border demilitarization, immigration equity and border demilitarization, because we want the borders demilitarized and we want equity.
Say it again. Migration, say it again.
Right. I'm thinking maybe we could say IM/migration. So people who know, because we're dealing
it.
with immigration legislation in part, but we want to focus on the other migration as the phenomenon, immigration, equity, and border demilitarization.
Okay. My throwing out a thought is to go back to simple, and I think that the previous committee had the border word first, and instead of saying border demilitarization, just kind of skip the demilitarization, although there obviously there's a reason to keep it in, but just say border and migration committee, knowing that we are talking about the militarization of our borders, and which contributes to war on the borders.
I think that, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead, Samantha.
I think that when you just don't have an action word in there, it takes on, it can be murky.
Okay.
So you might want an action word, like, demilitarize or something, I love not using the word immigration. I think migration is a much prettier word, and we have to, as Teresa says, take away that ugly word, the master word.
How about border and migration equity? Or justice? Let's go back to justice. Border and migration justice.
Let's toss it around. I think we might be able to come up with a good, strong word.
Oh, so we tossing it around now or later?
It's up to you guys.
Me. I could make a doodle poll for the larger group. I'm not good at doodle polls, but I think I've done it once or twice.
Militarized borders and migration.
Well, we are coming to another pause, so I'll just put all these in the minutes and we can, I'll ask folks to think about it and we'll come back to it again.
Real quick,
Yep.
so and there are many more people who are migrants within their own countries than immigrants. So are we saying that, I think that we're concerned about migrants, which cover really immigrants. And I don't think we're just talking about the Mexican border, but all immigrants, right? So I don't know, just throwing that out, that actually I do like the term migrants better than immigrants, because we're
Mhm.
concerned about anybody who has to leave their home. So that's,
Right, and then it allows us to think about refugees and people, like to throw out things that are happening, say, dealing with the crisis in Europe where migrants are dehumanized and Samantha, you were saying that you like the immigration, equity, and border demilitarization. Is that the one you were saying you liked?
Demilitarizing Borders and Migration Equity Committee. That's very descriptive. And it's not too much of a mouthful.
Rising borders and it's more of a mouthful than I can remember. Demilitarizing borders and what equity? Border equity. No,
Migration.
equity. Thanks. Got it. All right. All right. It's got us rolling again. Okay. I'll include all these as part of our action items to think about. Moving on to the next one is titled Volunteer to Write a Blurb for the Website. So as Joan has been reminding us and I have been completely ignoring, we have been asked, each subcommittee is asked to write a kernel of what we're doing and submit that for the new website. And their deadline was, I think last month. So, and if anyone is willing to put a little time to that, doesn't have to be alone, but it can be as a team, a small team, we can do that. It seems a little hard to do that on a meeting like this, but you could definitely have another meeting to do that. Or someone can do it and bring it to the next meeting. Or in between meetings, we can also email. I think using email is a nice way to go. And Samantha, your hand is up.
So you said a blurb, that's 2 to 3 sentences. So it's not with a mission statement now that they're asking for. What are they asking for?
I agree. They're not asking for a mission statement. They're asking for just something simple to say. It would probably include my name as the keeper of the who gets the meeting notices, and yeah, just a little bit about who we are.
When do you want it? I can do that.
Thank you. Okay. The next one. So in my thoughts, I'll start this one off and then open it up for discussion. In my thoughts about what I would like for this group, one thing I would like for this group to do, it would be to hold on to our WILF kind of I will legacy, I would say, of being good at providing analysis and but also combining that with action. And so one of the things that it seems to me that we might be good at doing is advocating to the rest of WILF when there are legislative actions that are coming up that are urgent, such as when Title 42 is going on right now. Is actually Remain in Mexico is in front of the Supreme Court, so not legislative. But when it's time to call our legislators, and I would like your opinions if that is something that we would agree would be something that we'd like to do as a group. So now opening it up for discussion. Anybody want to? Down, sideways, yay, thumbs. Okay, all right. One thumb up. And if you don't have an opinion, is it because you're not interested, or is it okay if somebody else does it, or you don't think that this group should be doing that? Okay. Well, if it's okay with this group, I will put something out and share it with whoever's doing our e-news. I'll look that up in my email box, unless somebody remembers offhand, because I think it's changing lately, that to advocate for the ending of 42, which is HR 2920. So the ending of Title 42. I have that.
Also, Tina, there's
Yeah.
a legislative committee and Lenny Reeves, I think, chairs it. So I don't know. I would have thought she would have been maybe dealing with this, since she's co-chair of the Cuban Bolivarian Alliance.
Right. Okay.
So maybe talk with her, or, well, whatever. But yeah, but the e-news has to get in pretty soon. If you
Yeah, I
wanted
think
to-
it is this week. So, I mean, it could go out. Okay. All right. And I actually realized that what I included in the addendum didn't have all the information we needed about the American Families United Act. So apologies. I copied one paragraph, but not the previous. And next is, I thought we had a couple of ideas, or I think actually I had a couple of ideas after the meeting last time when Silfred was talking to us about her work with refugees that's very specific to creating a tool to assess anxiety. And I thought maybe we could invite her to the One WILF call. And some of you may know that the One WILF calls are on hiatus right now. So I thought maybe we could discuss how we would like, if we would like to share her work, inviting her to share her work more broadly. I mean, we could just have a webinar, and that could be something that we do. While we're creating the bilingual brochure, we could be hosting a webinar, and that might be for her. So yes, Teresa.
Well, I was really impressed with Silfred, and so I reached out to her, and George and I have been working around a webinar that deals with her specific focus, because her specific focus is on adolescent migrants who are crossing over into Lebanon from Syria and Palestine. So Shireen Jurdi, who is the MENA, the Middle East, North Africa region representative. George and I did a Zoom meeting with her, and she spoke to the Black Liberation Caucus this past Sunday. Salford is quite busy now, but she set up a Zoom for the four of us to talk about doing a webinar, and it's really focused on the situation in the Middle East, which is the most appropriate way, I think, for Salford to connect with the U.S. section and the work we're doing. I did announce it to the Disarm Committee on Sunday night, and I have also told the co-chairs of the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee. So I'm hoping that this webinar will be a collaboration that brings attention to what is happening in the region, because she's from Norway and she's living in DC now. So when I'm in DC for the Poor People's Campaign, I'm going to ask her to speak to the members of the new DC Baltimore branch of WILF, which that's one of the key strategic objectives that I have of being in DC, in addition to the Poor People's Campaign. So I don't think we should add another webinar. It's a bit of a stretch for the Migration Border Demilitarization Committee to move beyond the US borders, because this is the US section. And I don't think what Salford is doing really involves the US borders at all. So I was a bit miffed by her presenting to this subcommittee in the first place. But when I realized what she was doing, she's a psychologist who's working with adolescents in the Middle East, North Africa region, not with adolescents who are traumatized coming across into the US borders. So I just wanted to alert you to the work that George and I are doing with Shireen from Lebanon and with Zolfrid. And she's very excited about talking about her findings. And as we know, Lebanon is a place that is really a failed state because of the crisis of refugees coming into Lebanon from the conflict zones around Lebanon, including Palestine and Syria. So I wanted to let you know that that's in the works. That will probably happen at some point in June before Salford goes back to Norway. She's really busy right now. So the meeting we're gonna have with her is gonna be on May 9th. So when we have our May meeting, I can report more about what the final decision is. But we're looking for a collaboration with Disarm, as well as the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee around building the webinar as a kind of US section contribution to what's going on in the region, which is no way to treat a child in terms of what's happening with adolescents and the suicide rates and the other thing. That's what Salford's work is. Over.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you keeping us in the know. And anybody else have anything else that they want to bring up? Margot, I see your note, so I'll definitely be pulling something together to, for us to advocate to end Title 42. And I'll put that out to you all and then, well, probably because of the timing, I'll probably just send it directly, but I'll get it directly from, um, uh, organizations that are advocating for its end, and so I'll get the language right. Time to decide when our next meeting is. Oh, and decide who will report to the AHR committee. I don't have in front of me when that AHR committee meeting is.
I think it's Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Sounds right. Anybody planning on being on that meeting and can give a report? Or just say that we're meeting? I'll just send a report via email. And calendar. So today was the first time in a while that we've met on a day other than a Friday. So willing to hear how it was for you all.
I'll speak. It's a busy season, so I can't tell you. I've been on meetings since 8 o'clock this morning.
Oh, I
So-
remember you said that these next 2 months are really hard for you, Samantha. Thanks.
So it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Well, Tina, I
Yes.
would appreciate if we could establish some consistency. The ending mass incarceration and the death penalty subcommittee has kind of agreed to meet on the second Monday of each month, and it's looking like the UN decade is going to be meeting on the third Monday of each month at 2. I had this meeting down for 3 today, and when I looked at email today, I saw that the meeting time was changed to 4:30, but I do recall that there was a 3 o'clock time previously. So I'd like to see us be somewhat consistent in setting the meeting date and time, because it did kind of throw me off to have to switch from 3 p.m. today to 4:30, or did I make that up? Was the meeting originally at 3 p.m. today?
I did not have it in my calendar as 3 p.m. and I have another meeting that is at 3. So I don't think that we might have discussed it, but I said I couldn't do it. I said we were consistent. We had been consistently meeting on Friday nights, and then I couldn't meet at the end of April on Friday nights. And because this meeting, I don't like that it's dependent on me to convene it, but right now that's how it is. And so we had to change it to Tuesday.
Well, do you have a consistent day when you're available? If it's Tuesday, I'm generally okay, as long as I know in advance and I can set the time. So for instance, today is the last Tuesday of the month. Usually the last Tuesday of the month is either for the evening is usually the steering committee of the national board or the national board meeting. And so this is, I guess Diane can speak to it. but I think this is a steering committee meeting evening. Is that right, Diane?
True, yeah, it's
And
tonight.
then next month, May, the last Tuesday, will be the official national board meeting.
So that is why we went earlier to 4:30 Eastern instead of like a 6:30 or 7:30 to give a break. I think that right now I can do 4:30 on the last Tuesday, but you know,
Can you do Fridays in the future? Should we go back, or might there be problems for you in the future on Fridays? Because
You know,
Fridays better for me.
I think in both cases, I don't have a crystal ball and I don't know when things are gonna happen. You know, I have 3 kids. So yeah, sometimes Fridays there's prom and sometimes traveling. I mean, Friday is also a travel day for some people. So if there's a preference right now with the people who are here to go back to Friday, then I can definitely go back to Friday. If not, I think I'm willing to stick to Tuesdays because I have my other Wolf meetings on Tuesday. And so that would be a little bit consistent for me. So I would like a show of hands as to who would like to go back to Friday or wiggle your camera. And
I like the idea of Tuesday because I agree with you. I do like to do weekend travel myself from time to time. And the reason we switched from Friday for the UN decade, because that was also the Jewish Sabbath. And
Sure.
so we switched from evening meeting on Friday to more of a midweek meeting for that reason. Fridays are generally Friday is generally the day that people avoid for meetings. I usually don't schedule anything on Friday and I leave it open for a got to do it meeting. But Tuesdays work well for me. So I like it. Now Tuesday, the last Tuesday in May is the 31st of May. And the board, I guess, would still be having its regular board meeting that night. But 4:30 in the afternoon on the last Tuesday of the month works for me. So at this time of day, I'm usually not scheduling too much. So that's my opinion. But this worked out well. So when I saw it, I had a volunteer here and I just told her she had to leave at 4:30 because I had to do the Zoom because I had mixed up on the time about it. But it works out great as long as I know in advance.
Okay, thank you. George, you want to throw something out there? Okay. Margot, how about you? You're flexible? You're muted. You're muted, Margot.
I'm amenable to either time.
Thank you. Okay,
What about
Well,
Tuesdays at 5:30? Does that work? I
is
could-
5:30 better?
It's better for me because I work until 5 on Tuesdays typally.
5:30. Okay. Yeah, there was some reason, I think it was Samantha that had something later tonight and we needed to push it as early as possible, but I can definitely do 5:30.
That would be better for me, definitely. I
Great.
should
Thanks for
be-
saying it.
Okay, great.
All right. So May 31st, 5:30. And if it gets too much to be on the last Thursday, we can always move it up to another Tuesday in the month. Working around our other commitments. Okay. So the action items that I have are to jot down all our iterations of name and send that out to the group. Name options and let people express their opinion. The other action item is that Teresa and or George will let us know when Sofrid will be presenting through the MENA Middle East North Africa group. So that we can all put that on our calendars.
Well, let's frame this clearly. It is a solidarity webinar. with
Solidarity.
Solidarity webinar with the Middle East, North Africa region and adolescent mental health.
Great. Thanks for helping me get the right words. But you will let us know.
Yes.
And oh, and then the third thing is that I will do the Title 42. Anything else that I missed?
Yeah, I'll send a blurb to you and Joan
Yes.
before the
Thank
next meeting.
Yes, thank you.
And one final thing about the brochure, I'll find out from Adrian about an update. He's usually pretty quick with translating materials. And I do know that Lenny and he are collaborating, so there'll be some exchange back and forth. And I'll try to see if we can have something ready for the meeting on May 31st.
Okay. Are you anticipating using the same graphics or similar? Or using some of the same and then?
Well, I'm kind of leaving it up to them because
Okay.
we do want it to be reflective of the population we're reaching out to.
Right.
Because we'll be reaching out to migrants in the US who have been crossed by the border, so to speak, and ended up here for various reasons. But it is set up as a recruitment brochure. So we're looking for people whose first language is Spanish to be warm to the idea of joining WILF.
Thanks. All right, good to be with you all today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Everybody, thank you, Tina.
Bye-bye.